plan of action. That means after doing all of these things, that like research and platform selection, all those things, we need to consider normal software design development process. But there are valuable things here. It's project management. Project management is we need to define when we are releasing, because in mobile app development it is better to have a minimum viable product. That means small, you can say minimum viable product, something like that, that is not fully featured but doing something. Then you can give that to users at beta, then users will use it and you can get uh, the feedback from the testers. Those kind of things need to be managed in project management, because in mobile app development we have to consider about the as I said earlier, the performance, data usage, battery consumption. There are so many things. So if we identify an error at the beginning, we can fix those things before the production end. So app design is very important because UI is very important. Not like any web development or something else. UI is important, but we can manage that. But in mobile application, obviously you have to make a super UI. Otherwise, the app will fail, because user get installed and check the UI. If it is not friendly, user friendliness isn't there, they will suddenly uninstall that app, because the mobile is having small storage. So they consider about removing unwanted apps to make the phone clean. And need to consider about the app architecture also, because app architecture is playing a main role in optimization. Because if we keep all our data inside the device storage may full. Or if we keep all the data outside the app, that means we are downloading all the data in every time, it will cost the data, it will cost the network. So there is also a problem. So we need to have a good architecture to make a better performance in app. Have a uh, enhancement procedure. That means after making our app, there may be some issues. We need to have a process to enhance those problems also. And the one of the main thing is budget. In my experience, so many students and people are calling me like, I'm creating an app and I use Firebase and I use those things, something like that. But when I ask about, do you have budget to afford this, they don't know about that. There are so many tools, there are so many things, but everything we can't afford. In hackathon also, someone said an idea about they are doing an app, but the tools and technologies they are going to use is very cost. Also they are telling that they will make this app, they will give this app for free, but I don't know. That's good, but uh, in the view of marketing point of view, that's not a good idea. We have to consider about the development cost and the maintain cost, also updating and also marketing. If we can, you may make an app, you can develop and you can maintain, also you can update, but if you can't market that app, you are not getting any revenue. So we need to think all of these things with respect to the budget. And the efficiency is also very important. If it is not user friendly, users will not use. Smooth loading mean when your app load, when you click on the app, it if it take more time to appear, see something in the display, you will obviously close that app. And battery usage, when you are using that app, if your battery drains so fast, you will not use that app. Also, data efficiency, when you are working with that app, your data package will take in too much of data through the internet. That also a huge problem to the users, to the mobile users. That's the case. And other important thing is user friendliness. That means user experience. You need to make a valuable thing that users feel that this is valuable for me. And also, if you target the correct audience, the audience will be happy, then your app will be on the way to success. Also, make sure to make it easy to use. If your app is so confusing or there is so complex user interfaces, the users will not use that app. Main thing is make something valuable, because the users should feel that this is valuable to keep in my phone. That's the case. Also, the functionality and the content you are delivering must be in line with the target audience. If you are targeting an audience, you should give the exact valuable things that the audience need. Then you will be success. And maintain after development, that is also valuable. Uh, Time to time, new devices are arriving. Mobile companies are making so many new devices. Then we need to make our app to be work on all the new devices. Also, new operating system. You may see something, but new operating systems. And mobile companies are introducing new features. At that time, also, you need to consider about these features that may be help to develop your app more valuable than you are doing at the current time. Rather than the positive side, there is a negative side too. The mobile companies are bringing new restrictions to devices. If you are currently developing any mobile, if you are developing an iOS apps or something like that, you may face that problem. iPhone are making new restrictions when they are updating their OS. At that time, we need to face those problems also to make our app smooth, user friendly, efficient, and all the way. So we need to consider about these things too. And there are two other cases. If you are making an Flow client, that means a custom software, that means they are telling what are the requirement and how to do and what the platform and each and everything. If they say each and everything, you just need to follow those requirement and make the app. But if the client is only having an idea, that something like he's having an idea to make something, but he don't know anything, at that time we need to do all the steps that I have mentioned earlier. Do a research and platform selection, all those things you have to do and give your opinion to the client. That's the thing. And let's talk about the tools and technologies. There are a set of clarifications, or we can say we can divide like this, but some people are dividing in different ways. But this is my point of view. We can say native apps, hybrid apps, web apps, or progressive web apps, and also cross platforms. I will talk each and everything. Native apps. If we talk about native apps, they are written in one programming language for a specific operating system, native mean it's working only the operating system they are that they are targeting. Something like if we are targeting the iOS, we can write in Swift or Objective C. If we are write for Android, we can write in Kotlin or Java. And the other thing, it's more expensive. That mean in the business point of view, if we need to make an app, mobile app that works both iOS and Android, we need also, if we are choosing the native one, we have to write two separate codes for Android and for iOS. That means you have to take more time or more developers. That means it's more expensive. It says that native apps are dreams for some companies because the expensiveness. You should know when to use these native tools or native apps. This is the one case. If you are developing an app for the first time and the client or you want to impress the users at the best experience possible, you need to do your best. At that time you obviously need to use the native apps because it's so speed and everything is perfect because it's the languages are mainly focusing and only focusing on that platform. Therefore, its super speed and performance is optimized. And also, if you want to use the device specific features too much deep, at that time you need to use native. And also, if your app is having too much complex features, at the time also you need to use the native. And also, the native apps are working offline, can work offline. You can find so many examples in the internet, but I took Google Maps and LinkedIn because Google Map is a real-time GPS and it's doing so many things. So the Google Map is using native for iOS and Android. That's one example. Find about the LinkedIn why they are using the native apps. You can see in the internet. And here are the pros and cons. Native apps are high speed, that means it's performance optimized. Also, it can work offline, as I said earlier, but no reusable code. That means if you write a code for iOS, you can't take that code to develop the Android one. That means you can't reuse the code. And also, involves more talent, mean you have to hire two different developers for iOS and Android, or you can hire one developer that knows both. That's more talent involves. That's the thing. If we talk about hybrid apps, uh, if I simply say what the hybrid app is, we are making an container or native viewer using iOS and or Android. That means Swift or Android or Swift or Kotlin or Java. We are making a viewer and we load the browser into that viewer and we are making an app using web technologies. Then we bind both things and make an app. If we think, it's something like wrapping a mobile app into native wrapper. That's the thing. It's cheap in development because we only need to create one app. It's a web app, and we are wrapping these using native wrappers. Then the case performance is slow because it's loading from the internet as well as it's wrapped into some other thing. The program should work program or the features should go through two layers because the wrapper and the app. When to use the hybrid app? If you are going to develop an app for both platforms and you don't have too much money or the time at that time, So hybrid apps are preferred. And in the hybrid apps also you can use the GPS and cameras etc, because using the native APIs, because we are wrapping the app with the native wrappers. Development is fast because one code. Maintenance is also easy, the same reason, the one code. These are the pros and cons. You can read, but impossible to access offline. OS inconsistency mean we are making one app and we are wrapping into iOS and Android wrappers. At that time, the iOS native features are working in a manner, but that manner is not same as the Android. At that time, the OS inconsistency is happening. You have to deal with if you are working with native features. If you need to work with too much native features, this is not a good choice. And the greatest one, as I preferred, the cross-platform. Uh, Here also we are written in one language. Uh, we are writing one language. When we build the code, it will build two builds, one native iOS and native Android. This is fast and performance optimized. Also, you can have the native look and feel. That means we are actually building native code, so we can feel this app as native apps. And there are so many open source libraries for that, and also large capable of UI customization. Mean you can customize your UI as you want. If you want to make a button like flower, you can make, no worries. And reusable codes, because we are writing in one language and we are building into two different codes. You can reuse the same code to build Android and iOS. And if you ask me when to use the cross platform, the simple answer is when you can't make the native apps, the second option should be this. And the example, Google Ads, Google Assistant, Google Stadia means a gaming platform, I think, and Facebook, because the React was invented by Facebook, and now Facebook is using React Native for Android development. And if we talk about the pros, cost effective because we are making one app, so development time is single, like hybrid app. Reusable code, we can reuse the code. Consistency between platform, that's a huge benefit. If we make an app using React Native or Flutter or the cross-platform language, and then we can build to iOS and Android. If we build to iOS and run on an iOS phone or iPhone, it will seems exact native app, like exact native app. And the same code will run in Android like an exact Android app. Thus, the UI or the consistency between platform. If we talk about the disadvantages, native apps are slightly faster than the cross-platform, but it's slightly. And long time to wait for new features. That mean if Android or the iOS uh, bring some new features, it should be come to the React Native or Flutter, but it should be developed by open source developers. So it will take more time to develop. There is that should be a disadvantage, and the main disadvantage is we are depending on third party libraries. That means there are millions of developers developing libraries and making this ecosystem. So they are free and open source. Then anyone can deprecate or stop their service for any of these libraries. At that time we have to manage, or we have to find the any other platform, sorry, any other library to make it work. That's a main disadvantage or the problem we are facing when developing cross-platform maps. But we don't need to worry about that, because for the same thing there are 2 3 libraries we can find. So that's not a huge problem, but sometimes it may be a problem. But in that case, if we are know the basic things, we can make our own library for that task. And about the Google Trends, Xamarin, React Native, Flutter, and Ionic, you can see the yellow one is Flutter. It's coming up, and also React Native is at the up, and Xamarin and Ionic are getting down. That's the current situation. The reason is Flutter is capable of doing so many things as well as React and React Native. Uh, Therefore, this is, you can see the trends. Okay, in my opinion, I would like to say something like that. It's better to learn cross-platform apps or cross-platform development, because it's the trend. And if you are going with the trends, you can identify so many things and it will be easy to use. There are many things, but you may have experience in other languages, Ionic and the other things also. But this is my suggestion, but you can do whatever you like. uh, and the next one is web development. You may have so many questions in this part. If you want, you can ask. I know this session was a bit of confusing, because there are so many things regarding the mobile app development. It can't be covered within a small time. If you are having any question, you can ask. Okay, I can understand two things. One thing is you could understand each and everything, or you didn't understand anything. Okay, let's continue. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. I have a question. App that runs in both Android and iOS, but they are different apps. What is that? Yeah. Uh, there's a question. App that runs in both Android and iOS, but they are differ in app size. The reason is something I can say, like the Android and the iOS, those OSs are different. So the APIs and the what do you call? Just think, we are accessing a camera in Android phone and iPhone. You can do it using some API. Both APIs are same code, but the way that iOS access the camera is not the way that Android does. So there may be a bit more coding in one of the language. At that time when we are building, we are using so many packages, so many third-party packages, or uh, so many different codes. Therefore the sizes may be differ because uh, in the front end if we see the same thing, but in the back end that's the case. Okay, there are two more questions. Play Store optimization. Actually, that's not the part, not a main part of a mobile development, but we can't say that's not a part of, but it's different topic. But if I say a little bit, Play Store optimization mean we are optimizing our app to come at first in Play Store or App Store anywhere else. That's called the optimization. In general, we say SEO, search engine optimization. But in that case, we have to think about so many things. Uh, like what is the keyword? Keyword that mean if you are making a taxi app or something like that, just assume taxi app, then you need to find what are the keywords that users search to download that app, and you need to put that keywords, and you need to consider about the user experience and all those things, and the paining points that the current apps are not giving. Considering all those things, you can optimize your app for Play Store or App Store. That's the thing. IdeaMart platform. IdeaMart platform is something like okay. Someone is asking about the IdeaMart platform. Actually, I don't know more about the IdeaMart platform, but as I know, it's not a mobile development platform, but it's something like an API to work with mobile app, as I know. And someone is asking if we start developing mobile as a beginner, what should do as the first? What are the languages methods should follow? Uh, Navod, your question will be answered at the end. And Harshana, can I record this? That's fine. Okay, let's start the web development. What about Android distro? Can you explanation how that platform work? Android Studio. What about the Android Studio? Can you give an explanation how that platform will work? Yeah, okay. Android Studio is something like development toolkit. It has so many tools, like you can have a simulator to simulate the app you are making, and it has a code editor. You can edit your code, and you can test, you can debug, also you can sign and produce. That means you can archive, you can bundle your app, all those things. Android Studio is doing all the things for you. The languages you can use in Android Studio is Java or Kotlin. You are writing apps, writing the things using Java or Kotlin, then you can build and publish using Android Studio. Okay, what is the practically the best state management package for Flutter? Uh, you can use Redux, and also there is state management package called Box or something. But Redux is great. When you are developing apps, we have the ability to connect apps with government database. When we are developing apps, do we have ability to connect our apps with government database? Actually, I don't know about that. We have to search about that, but I don't know. Is it possible to connect with government database or not? Okay, let's move to the session. Uh, web development. You know that spiders are the only web developers that enjoy finding bugs. That's something. Okay. What is the web development? This session will be interesting rather than the mobile development part. Uh, Web development is simply making something that shows inside a browser. These are the browsers, you know about it. Development versus designing. Designing is left to right. Developers are doing top to bottom. If you are a developer and designer, you know what it means. Uh, what the designers are doing is they are considering about the usability, branding, colors, and those things, and they are designing layout and doing all those things and complete the design layout and hand it over to the developer. Then what developers do? This is the part of the designer. Design is telling colors, styles, and so many things to developer. And developer says it in the code way, programming way. Then you may think when the designer give all the design to the developer, developer has nothing to do. Developer is something like that. He's looking at the desktop and waiting. He's doing nothing. But in the actual scene, this is the case. Web developers. Web developers are making a front end and a back end. The users only see the front end, but there is a back end for that web. And that's the path. Every web developer should know these things: HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. If we check what happened with these things, HTML we can define the structure, and with the CSS we can make it colorful or stylish, and with the JavaScript we can make it functional. That's the mix of or the usage of these things. The web development can be divided into two things: front end and back end. If you are going for a front end development, this is the first step. You should learn HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And the other main important thing is responsive design. That's the case. Responsive design means your web design should work in computer, desktop computers, laptop computers, tablets, mobile phones, maybe smart TVs, or any of the screen. Your app should work. Work mean it should be accessible. That's the case. That's the responsiveness. Becoming a pro. If you want to become a pro, you need to learn a bit more things, like integrating a Google map or any type of map into your website, and how to use Google fonts or external fonts, and using icons, external icons. You should need to know those things. But being a pro is not that easy. You have to learn these things. In our childhood, when we are having a car, we dismantle it and bring the motor out and see what's going on. Don't think about the color. That's the image I could get in the internet. Something like that, you should know the document object model or the DOM tree. We are calling this as DOM tree. What exactly happening inside the HTML document? We should know that. This is a small part of a DOM tree. You can learn more in the internet. You need to learn this. You should know this to become a pro. As well as you need to learn Ajax and JSON. Ajax and JSON is for the HTTP request or fetch data from a server to show in your website or web page or web app. If you know the other things, the earlier things, you are the pro in web designing or web development in front end designing. At that time, it's time to find some frameworks because you are the boss. You know what exactly happening in development in website. HTML, JavaScript, CSS, also the DOM tree, and how to access the document object model, and how to handle the elements, how to work with them, how to create them. You know everything. After that, you can go for a frameworks. Frameworks mean they are creating a frame that works for you to make your works done. That means if you are considering about the CSS framework or designing or styling framework, you can go for a Bootstrap or Material UI. There are so many things, but these two, you may know these two. And if you are need to have a JavaScript or interactivity frameworks, you can go for React, Angular, Vue, or jQuery also. There are some differences and similarities between those, and people are saying that jQuery is dying. Maybe, but you can still use jQuery in your when developing web apps, websites like that. And since I am a React developer, I should say like this: React is a JavaScript framework or JavaScript library, we can say, and we can plus or we can add some material UI or bootstrap into it, like as CSS framework. Then we can make an awesome website or web page or web app. That's the combination. You can pick one of the JavaScript framework and one of the UI framework. Then using those two, you can make an app or website. That's the case. You can choose any other combinations also work. You can use Bootstrap with jQuery. You can use Material with jQuery, something like that. You can work. If you want to become full stack developer, that means after the front end, you need to learn the back end also. What happened? The backend developer is building something like this, and the front end developer building something like this, and there's a REST API called Plaster or something to connect those. That's the case. If you need to become a backend developer, you need to know about the server side logics and connect front end and back end. Also, you need to know developing APIs. That's the case. If you want to become a backend developer, there are so many tools and technologies you should learn, but I will show something: JavaScript and MongoDB. JavaScript, here JavaScript is Node.js and MongoDB. So one stack, and you can learn PHP and MySQL. It's another stack, and you may know about this. This is called Firebase. If you want to make a serverless website or web app, you can use Firebase. But You need to think about the cost efficiency, because the Firebase cost more than these technologies. And there are so many things we can talk, but if you remember that I missed one thing in mobile development, that's called web apps and progressive web apps. I kept that for this in mobile development part. Web app is an app that runs on a browser. That's an app. What we think, if we think about the progressive web app, it's also a web app. Web app mean we make a website or web page that seems like an app using native icons, native features. Features mean native look and feel. We are taking native look and feel, and we are making a website. If someone sees that website, it's totally like an app. That's called web app. What we call progressive web apps mean we are adding some extra features into it. Something like we are creating a splash screen. Splash screen mean the loading screen that we can use when the user click on the icon, and until the uploads it will show this splash screen. We can add into this progressive web apps, and we can add an icon. We can define an icon for this progressive web apps to show in the mobile home screen. And also we can enable push notification using the service worker. That's a JavaScript file. It's called service worker. We can, using that service worker, we can enable push notification, something like we are taking notification when someone comments on Facebook, or when we are having a message, we can take push notification in progressive web apps. Those are the progressive web app. If you know to develop the web apps, you can develop the progressive web apps using that knowledge. And where should I start? This is the answer for someone's question. I don't know who asked. Someone asked. That's the answer. If you want to become a native mobile app developer, then you need to learn both Android and iOS. If you want to become only an iOS developer, just learn the iOS development, Swift and Objective C. But you need to have an Mac OS to develop the iOS using native. And also to publish this, you need to have a developer account. That will cost $99 per year. Also, that's the case. You need to have a certificate, then you can deal with those things. If you need to an enterprise certificate, that will cost a bit more. If you want to become an Android developer, you can develop Android apps in Ubuntu, Windows, even Mac. You can do. The developer account will cost $25 to publish the App Store. To the Play Store. If you want to become a native Android developer, learn Kotlin or Java. That's the case. If you want to become a full stack web developer, then you need to learn the front end and the back end. A web designers are not the developers, they are designing. Then you need to have a better idea of UI and UX, user experience and the user interface design, rather than learning tools. Some people are learning tools. They know Figma, how to use Figma. They know how to use Adobe XD, but they don't know about the user experience. At that time, they are not the good designers. And if you want to become a front end developer, then you need to know the framework. You should know HTML, CSS, JavaScript. After that, you need to learn the framework, because the design is depending on framework, because you can't design from the scratch. That's the case. Then also you should also need to learn the Figma and all those tools, because you are getting the design using that tools. So if you are familiar with those tools, you can design your user interface too quickly. And if you want to become a backend developer, then the main thing is you should develop your logical thinking skills. Otherwise, it's so hard to become a backend developer. I'm not telling you can't, but it's so hard because you need to think about the optimization and all those things. So it's better to develop your skill in logical thinking and learn the relevant tool. That's must. That's obvious. And these are the starting points, but there may be someone that don't know where to start, or there is I have no idea. In that case, I can say here is my opinion. If you want to go through the whole path, if I say a little bit of me, in my case, when I'm second year, I want to learn something. Something mean I don't know what to learn. Maybe some of you are in that case, but I wanted to learn something, and also I have to create a website. I have to create a website. At that time, in my mind get two things: do I need to learn and do things, or just do? First, I take the just do. Actually, I wanted to make that, so I try to do small things and take some code from there, here and there, and putting together and trying to make it complete. But it didn't work in that manner. So I thought I need to learn this. Otherwise, I can't do this. So I learned from the beginning. I first learned HTML, then I learned CSS, then a little bit of JavaScript, then I go for a PHP, then MySQL. So I know front end and the back end at that time. With that knowledge, I could build that website. At that time, I know a bit about web development. So I know the front end and I know the back end. That's fine. After that, I wanted to become a mobile app developer. So I learned, uh, I search about what are the things to learn to become a mobile app developer. The main thing you are getting is Android Studio. You may heard all the time everyone saying Android Studio, because of two reasons. Because normally most of people are using Android phone, then they see Android apps, and also the development certificate is cost $25 forever. So there are so many reasons, and they know these things, and they built Android apps. But at first, I installed Android Studio in a computer, not actually on my computer. I installed that, but it's stuck. I can't work. At the time, I thought that this is not the case. I won't develop Android apps using this. So I changed my path, I think, and I did a research and I find. And finally, I came to a path that something else. The path, it was the path I am explaining here. First, learn the web, then go for a PWA. That means progressive web apps. That means actually I learned the HTML, CSS, JavaScript. After that, I learned React. Using React, we can make progressive web apps. And if we know React, there is a cross-platform language called React Native. We can build a cross-platform app that seems and behave and work performance on everything like a native app. That's the case. So I think this path is good if you have no any idea. That's the case. And if you have any question, you can ask. Okay, different between PWA and native cross-platform apps. Okay, PWA mean actually we are creating a web app. That means website. If you go to the site called Pinterest, as I remember. They are saying that add to home screen. If you add to home screen, if you click OK on that button, uh, an icon will be created on your home screen that will access to an app. It's actually a website, not an app, but it behave like an app, but you can't access the native features. You can't access the core of your devices, and you can't you can access the camera, but you can't access GPS and all those things using a PWA. And also you can't send push notification to iOS using PWA. Only Android support for that features, because as I said earlier, those feature was blocked in as I remember iOS third. No, they didn't give that feature. The push notification features for PWA they haven't offered yet. That's the case. The PWA is actually a website and web app that behaves like a native app, but it's not actually a native app. I think you got that answer. Can we have a detailed description about web hosting? Okay, web hosting. If you, yeah. Okay, can we have a detailed description about web hosting? Web hosting is something like we are, uh, if you know how to work with the local host, web hosting mean you are taking that files and put somewhere in the internet. That mean a computer that works forever for you to show that files. Web hosting, you can you please explain a bit more that you need to learn about what you want to learn about web hosting, mean the technical part or how to host? And Chaturanga asked if you have any idea to learn iOS development without Mac. Yes, you can learn iOS development without Mac. You can use, but you can't develop the real native apps. But cross-platform you can do in Flutter and React Native. Also React, PWA you can create and test also. The case Flutter provides a device frame or something like that. You can see the actual behavior of your app inside an iOS, but the only thing you can't do is you can't build and publish into app store. That's the case. There are so many developers developing iOS apps using Flutter, using Ubuntu or any other operating system, and they use someone's Mac, or there are option called VPS, virtual private computer. We can buy it. If you search VPS, Mac VPS, you can find that's a virtual computer you can access to build your application. In that process you can do, and if you can develop, you can learn and develop without Mac. That's not a problem, but you can't learn Swift or because the Swift is running on Xcode. You can learn Swift, but you can't learn you can't make apps using Swift without Mac, because it's run on Xcode. There is no Xcode app for Windows or Ubuntu. It's only available for Mac. Is there any major difference between developing web app as you explained here and creating tool by tool like WordPress etc? Yeah, okay. WordPress and those things are called content management system, like short CMS. In that case, you can they are giving some restrictions. That mean they are giving themes and all those things, but that's not the case. You can't do everything using those tools, because I have found that someone asked about a site, and he talked about we can't find this theme in WordPress. He asked, I have found a site called ABC, and that theme isn't in WordPress. So don't think every site is made using WordPress or Ghost or any of the CMS. That's not a problem using CMS for your works, but CMS can't do everything that the other sites are doing. That's the case. How to host than localhost? Okay, hosting is depending on what you are hosting, but if we talk about a simple HTML site, you can buy a host using a shared hosting provider, uh, and they will give you a login to log a CMS, cPanel login. Then you can go to that file manager and you can host those things. After hosting, you need to have a way to access those things. To access, if you are having a domain, that means a name, you can link that domain into your host, say abc.com. Then you can access your files using abc.com. Otherwise, the host is having an IP. You can access your data using that IP 131 dot 151 dot 98 dot 95, something like that. That's the case. Can you tell about mod apps? Mod apps mean uh, we are taking an build app and extract it, and we do the modification to it, and we rebundle it and work. That means you can find WhatsApp plus plus and some plus plus apps for iOS and Android also. That means you can't use two WhatsApp in same mobile, but the reason you can't use is the bundle identifier, because only one bundle identifier can have in one device for one app. So what they are doing is they are extracting the app and change the bundle identifier. Like if we think com.whatsapp.com, they are making it as com.whatsapp2.com. Then you can use to WhatsApp in your phone. That's the case in mod apps. What are the basic requirements for entering an institution as an intern? To become an intern, that's depend on the company. It's better to ask from the company before you are joining. That means if you are want to join for a company called ABC, and you can find the internet, what are the technologies, tools and technologies they are using, what are the products they are building. You can search through the internet, or you can ask someone who is working at there, then learn those things. It will be easy for you and them to continue the internship. That's the case. What is your idea about Dino.js? There are so many JavaScript platforms, but I actually don't have an experience on Dino.js. Can you explain a little bit about Git? Okay. I think there was a Git session in. I remember that there was a Git session. So you may miss Git, but okay. Git is something called version controlling system. What you are doing is you are just assume that you are making a code, you are typing a code, and you are okay. Let's assume we are having a website. Then we need to add some offer information for that site. So we can change those things but after 1 month later we need to remove that. That's one case. And also there may be another case. There is an app or website or web app. Uh, Say you are having a blog, then the blog writers are writing each and every day. At the same time, you need to develop some features to your blog. If you do the same, do those two things at the same time or at the same code, you have to wait until the feature completed to host all the other uh, blog blog things, uh, because the the feature developer, if the feature developer didn't complete their work, the program is not working correctly. But the blog writers are writing, so your code can't be published because blog side is fine, but the app is not working because the feature developer is still developing that feature. At that time, if we use the Git, we can make something called branches. We can make a one branch for feature development. We can make another branch for publishing or the blog part. Or normally we are making the working path as main. The earlier we take as master branch, but now Git has changed it to main. We are keeping the working things in main branch. We can create another branch called ABC feature development branch. Then we can work on that branch. After we completed that feature, we can merge that branch into working branch. Then we can publish. At that time, the all the articles and all the features are working in the working branch. That's the case. It seems you are not having any questions.
Okay, yeah. Before ending the session, we want to say ICTC has planned to give little present for the best contribution student of the twist and turns. Radika, I would like to invite you to select the best contribute student for the present from the today's session.
Really? How can I find the best contributor? Okay, I found one. Uh, do I need to explain about that?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Okay. Best contributor mean I think in so many sessions people are asking so many questions and things, but it's so hard to find someone that like the best contributor. But I choose ICTS 76, maybe Navod, because the question that was asked is where to start as a beginner, what should we do at the first, what are the things and languages method should we follow. That should be a great question because in uh, we should find a starting point. That's the case. The others may be doing at the time. That's not a problem. The other questions, I'm not saying that other questions are not great or they are also great, but I think this is a great question that where to start, and hope you will find a good point to start and will be success and others will.
Okay, thank you. ICTS 76. ICTS.
ICT S76 Navod maybe.
Now, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, wait until the end. Don't leave the session. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. All the best. Okay, we successfully finished our first session of Treats and Turns. I would like to thank Software Engineer Infra Technologies Private Limited, Mr. Radika Dilanka, Radika, yeah, the knowledge you shared, the effort, the time you spent for us is grateful. Thank you. And thank you all, my dears, to participating today. Thank you.